I will be describing my collegiate experience using Chickering's 7 vectors of identity development. Vector 1, developing competence. I feel like I developed competence during my collegiate experience by attending classes, completing coursework, and thinking critically. Something else that contributed to developing competence was joining different organizations and then taking electives that expanded and built upon my different interests. Vector 2, managing emotions. Dealing with being away from home for the first time, being away from my family, my mom and my sister, was emotionally difficult. That was something that I had to learn to deal with and get adjusted to as time went by. Also, just learning to deal with different emotions and situations alone. So being away from my home and parents, having to learn how to deal with things on my own. During my senior year, my grandpa passed away at the very beginning of the fall semester, so that was very emotionally difficult, and I had to learn how to manage and deal with that and still focus on school and keep my grades up and participating in the different organizations that I was in as well. Vector 3, moving through autonomy towards interdependence. Adjusting to the college life and becoming more independent and less dependent on my parents and my family. And then interdependent by relying on family and friends for emotional and moral support, and relying on my mother and my part-time job for financial support. During this stage, I also had to learn that it was okay to be interdependent. I was so focused on wanting to be independent and not being a burden to my mom. And it took a couple of knocks and falling down, but eventually I learned that it was okay. Sometimes we do have to rely on others and learn to accept help from others. And that ultimately it's up to me to make the final decisions. Vector 4, developing mature interpersonal relationships. So during my undergraduate experience, I developed relationships with different faculty and staff members and some of my peers who were in, we took some of the same classes or were in the same major. Developing relationship with friends and being able to understand differences and not let the differences separate you or discourage you from being friends with someone, but learning to understand and appreciate those cultural differences. Getting over trust issues and learning to trust again, and then learning to have open and honest communication and being able to communicate and express my feelings effectively. Vector 5, establishing identity. Throughout high school and college, I went through several different phases, questioning who I was or who I was supposed to be. Throughout my collegiate experience, I was able to learn more about myself, my likes and my dislikes. I was also able to develop a strong sense of self-confidence and learn to just be myself and love myself for who I am and not worry about what other people thought or what they were going to think about me. Vector 6, developing purpose. I knew as a freshman that I wanted to be a teacher. I just didn't know exactly what grades or content that I was wanting to teach. I always knew from freshman year that my purpose was to serve and to help others. I started out my freshman year as an English education major, and then after taking a nutrition class and an early childhood class, I learned that English was not the area that I wanted to focus on, and that I wanted to delve further into family and consumer sciences. So I changed my concentration over to family and consumer sciences, and through those classes I learned a lot and was able to really see that that was more of my purpose. So as I progressed through my undergraduate journey, my purpose became more clear. Vector 7, developing integrity. I matured more during my junior and senior year, and I think that just comes with age and realizing as an undergraduate during your junior and senior year, your classes are more serious and more focused towards your major and not so much those core classes and electives anymore. Also with developing integrity, evaluating your morals and values and making sure that your behavior and your actions align with those morals and values. I feel that Chickering's 7 vectors are a good starting point for looking at identity development, but there's still some room to grow. Looking back on my experience, I cannot say that I exactly developed in that order. I can say that I did develop each of those vectors at different times, some of them in order, some of them out of order. One of the things that I think is a continuous process of development is vector 4, developing mature and interpersonal relationships. I think that's one of the things that's kind of one of those lifelong processes, even developing competence, because as you grow and progress, sometimes your career path may change, so then you have to develop competence in that new career path. So some of these things are one of those things that you're just forever developing and forever trying to achieve and attain. Some of these things I don't think you ever just reach full attainment on some of these vectors.